Hello everyone and welcome to a very odd video that I just decided to do. I thought it would be very interesting and very historical. So I know it's a bit of a random topic that we're going to be talking about, but I think it's quite interesting for those who like football. So today we're going to be going over the history of the American Samoa national football team from 1930 onwards. So we need to understand what is American Samoa. So American Samoa are a national football team that was formed in 1930, but geographically speaking, it is a territory that is owned by the United States of America, and it covers seven islands in the South Pacific. Within these, Tutuila is the largest island out of all of them, home to the capital city of American Samoa, Pago. In 1983, the South Pacific Games were being held in Western Samoa. This saw American Samoa's first ever football game and first ever competition they ever entered. Sadly, in their first game, they lost 3-1 against Western Samoa. However, this was quickly made up for as they beat Wallis and Futuna 3-0. This was, historically speaking, their first ever victory. However, throughout the competition, they played 3 games, and here is a roundup of how they went. They lost 2 and won 1. Just 4 years later, the South Pacific Games were being held again in 1987, this time in New Caledonia, and this saw, unfortunately, American Samoa's first ever defeat by a double-digit figure, as they lost 10-0 to the hosts, New Caledonia. It didn't get much better as one of their matches against Tahiti was postponed. They lost 7-0 to Vanuatu, 5-1 this time against Wallis and Futuna, and a shocking 20-0 against American Samoa. The Polynesia Cup. In 1994, the Polynesia Cup was held in Western Samoa, and this is the first ever competition that was held Polynesia-wide. And it didn't get much better for American Samoa either. They lost 3-1 to Western Samoa again, they lost 2-1 to Tahiti, and 2-1 to Tonga. 4 years later, the Polynesian Cup was being held again, this time in the Cook Islands. Yet again, this added more misery to American Samoa's results of bandwagons. They lost 3-0 to Tonga, 4-3 to the hosts, 12-0 to Tahiti, and 4-0 to close island Samoa. 2 years later, the Polynesia Cup was being held again, this time in Tahiti. Do I even need to repeat myself, guys? You know how it went. They lost 18-0 to the hosts, 3-0 to the Cook Islands, 6-1 to Samoa, and 2-1 to Tonga. Now came an embarrassing defeat. In 2002, American Samoa played what is now known as their most famous ever game, but it was for extremely bad reason. It is 2002, and American Samoa are playing Australia in the qualification stages of the FIFA World Cup 2002. Previously, American Samoa had just lost 13-0 to Fiji and 8-0 to Samoa, with a total of 3,000 spectators at the match. This was the largest crowd that American Samoa had ever seen watch them play. Unfortunately, however, this marked the day that American Samoa were beaten 31-0 by Australia, and after this match they went on to lose 5-0 to Tonga. You could say it's a bad day at the office. On the same year of the horrendous defeat to Australia, American Samoa were trying to qualify for the Oceania Football Club Nations Cup. However, that didn't happen. They lost 10-0 to New Caledonia, 7-2 to Tonga, 5-0 to Samoa, and 7-0 to Papua New Guinea. Sorry people, I am back. Anyway, In 2006, American Samoa had plans to qualify for the FIFA World Cup 2006, but that didn't happen. They lost 4-0 to Samoa, 9-1 to Vanuatu, 11-0 to Fiji, and 10-0 to Papua New Guinea. In 2007, the South Pacific Games were commencing again, and this time they were being held in Samoa. And you know what that means. They lost 12-1 to the Solomon Islands, 7-0 to Samoa, 15-0 to Vanuatu, and 4-0 to Tonga. There was more misery added to the bandwagon, as in 2011, the Pacific Games are being held, and American Samoa are doing what they do best. In this competition, they lose 4-0 to Tuvalu and the Solomon Islands, 2-0 to Guam, and then lose 8-0 to New Caledonia and Vanuatu. Jesus Christ. However, all of this would stop, as in 2014, a historic moment occurred in American Samoan national football team history. It is 2014, and American Samoa have to play Tonga to qualify for the FIFA World Cup 2014. Astoundingly, the match finished 2-1 to American Samoa. This means that it was their first ever victory in 28 years since their win against Willis and Fortuna in 1983. These qualifiers also saw American Samoa's first ever draw in their national football history, drawing 1-1 with the Cook Islands. They unfortunately didn't keep their streak going, as they then lost 1-0 to Samoa. You mean they won 2 in a row? In 2018, it is yet again another historic moment in American Samoan national football team history. It is 2018, and they plan this time to qualify for the FIFA World Cup 2018. They had just been beaten 6-0 by Fiji in an international friendly. But straight after this, American Samoa pull it out of the bag again and beat Tonga 2-1. Next, they have to play the Cook Islands. Remarkably, they win 2-0, and this marked the first time that American Samoa won a football match 2 times in a row. However, they lost 3-2 to Samoa. Their last game so far. As of 2022, American Samoa's last handful of games was when they played in the 2019 Pacific Games. Their games were difficult, we could say. They lost 5-0 to New Caledonia, 9-0 to Fiji, drew with Tuvalu 1-1, lost 13-0 to the Solomon Islands, and 8-1 to Tahiti. So if we count up all of their games, we come to a total of 4 games won, 2 games drawn, and 45 games lost. Now, I understand that this video is very random on a very random topic, but you will expect to see other videos like this, I think. I plan to make a video like this on San Marino national football team, but I'll see how this video goes. But it's a goodbye from me, everyone, and I hope you did enjoy this video. And if you did, please like and